Hello, hello.
Hey, Martha Deed from Buffalo. Hello.
How are you, everybody?
Good. Amit from New Delhi, India.
Wow.
How about
Yeah.
that?
Hi.
And everybody knows about the chat, so feel free to type in where you're from in the chat if you like. And when I'm reading, you can type in comments as we go. And I will have a Q&A after this too, so that'll be nice.
Got
Yeah.
Norman
Yeah.
from Vermont.
Yeah,
Yeah.
great.
Yes, I'll be right there. I'm gathering a drink. Yes, I have to drink lots of liquids lately. Who asked? Who is there?
John. John was
Oh,
saying
hello,
hi.
John. How are you?
Good.
Yeah.
Great. Now, Bill looks like
Oh,
he's
Paul
going
Rodell
outside.
is Paul Rodell from Georgia is coming on. Brett Nelson would like to read in the open mic, Bill.
Well, no, this is Jules' show.
Okay.
Yeah, so I'm going to be reading for about half an hour, and then we're going to have Q&A and maybe another poem or two for a half hour or so. And then we're going to have the open mic. So
Mhm.
Bill's going to be coordinating that. Bill, did you want to do any introductions or say anything?
He's just gone outside on his laptop. So I'm the host on my.
Anyone hear me?
He's in.
I can't hear anyone. I have no sound.
We can hear you.
No sound.
Oh, we can hear you.
Let me tell him that.
Okay.
Hello? Say something. No.
Yeah,
Hey,
Bill, we
hey,
can,
I
Bill.
have no sound.
we can hear you.
Hey, Bill. Yes,
Yeah.
and I have no sound. I cannot
Try
hear
try
anything.
logging off and logging back.
Try it. Speak. Someone say something.
Hey.
All right. All right. Now we're okay.
Got it?
All right. Thank you. Now we're good.
Hi, David.
Hey. Hey, everybody. Yeah. Ahmed, I was just speaking to you. Are you still in India?
Yep.
Oh, good.
Still in India.
Okay, Bill, do you want to do any introductions about this chapter or anything else? Or I just want to thank Bill for inviting me and setting this up.
So happy to have you here. Let me, all right. For those of you, let me see who's here, because I can't, hang on. Oh, yeah, we all kinds of good people here. Great. Okay. Hi, Andrew, Mary. Hi, Teresa.
Hi.
Hi, everybody. Hi. All right. Here's the deal. Yeah, this is officially being sponsored by the MultiMedia Poetry and Songwriting Chapter of the New Mexico State Poetry Society. Okay. And I'm a member of that, and many of the people that are on the screen are members of it. But and everybody's welcome to join in, anybody that wants to. It is not geographically located. We are located on the internet, and here we are. And we can meet, therefore we can meet anywhere at all. And we can have people from Delhi, India, such as my good friend Amit, come and visit us. So this is, you know, a new world for poetry. While we are part of the New Mexico State Poetry Society, I'm declaring right now, no one has to pay any dues to that organization group. You are more than welcome to join this group. You need not pay dues to anybody. So, you know, do what you need to do. We'll just keep these things going. And we'll be doing meetings like this on a fairly regular basis. You know, it won't be the same day every month, but it'll be going on. The next one will be April 9th, and that will also work with the Irish American Society and the featured speaker will be Larry Kerwin, a playwright and rock and roll star from Black 47 band. All right, that's enough for the future. It's wonderful to be here with Jules Nyquist and her incredible book, Atomic Paradise. If you haven't read it, get off this right now. Go get your copy and read it.
No, don't get off. Don't just, there's ordering information below in the chat.
Have her sign it for you and then read it, because this is for our times. Really, it's amazing. All right, and I thought about it, but she's tell you about it. Jules,
Well, thank you, Bill.
very happy too. It's a wonderful book. Jules works with.
Could you possibly, I put my email, Bill, could you possibly send me a link for that?
Yes, absolutely.
Because
Put it in the chat, and we'll.
I've got to look up Stone Soup. I keep forgetting to look up all these wonderful
Scott, if
places.
you scroll up in the chat, the link is there.
Like that.
Just scroll up.
No, I mean the one for the reading on the 7th.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
Oh,
you can
oh,
put that
for
on the
Stone
chat,
Soup.
okay? You can.
Yeah, all right.
Yeah.
I'll try to find that link. Okay.
I'll put it in the chat later. But right now, let's focus here where we are.
Not
Right
the
now,
7th, I mean, whatever it is, Bill, I forget what day.
9th of April. 9th of April, yeah.
This is
Uh,
the cactus movie reading.
Right now, let's focus. Jules Nyquist, Atomic Paradise. Jules is going to, and just anyone here that, I think I have Cheryl on here. I don't know. Anyway, Jules is the, together with John of Jules Poetry Playhouse, a wonderful institution here in New Mexico, presently in Placitas, and she can tell you more about it. It's a wonderful organization. She also works with John on Cactus Poetry. That is a monthly reading and open mic event. So Jules is quite accomplished. Jules has, you have an MFA, am I correct?
That's right.
There's an MFA and has been writing poetry for many, many years, and has been writing poetry here in New Mexico for quite a few years. And we're delighted to have her here. So without further ado, I'm going to give you Jules Nyquist.
Well, thank you so much, Bill, and it's for hosting this. And I'm happy to be your feature, and it's great to see everybody. I'm going to be reading. I think I'll keep it on gallery view so I can see all of your faces. So thanks in advance to everybody who's already has the book. If you haven't yet and you want a signed copy for me, I will mail it to you within the US. And I put the link on the chat, and you can also put your name on the chat. So feel free to comment. I'll be reading for about half an hour, and then we're gonna have Q&A. So if you have some questions about the poems and how I did the research for this book, let me know.
Here's the host butting in. Okay? Would everyone please do us a favor? Mute yourself.
Yeah, please mute yourself.
We'll tell you.
Or Jeannie, you
right,
can
Jeannie
mute
will
everyone.
mute you.
I'm
Jeannie.
gonna mute all and then, all right. Everyone is muted. And then Jules.
Yeah, okay. Thank you. All right.
Okay.
So thank you for everybody. It's great to see people. I did a lot of research for this book, and there's notes in the back on the books I've used, and also from my personal experiences. I've been working on this book a long time, for many years, as writing poems, and I wanted to have my perspective growing up in growing up in the Cold War. I'm from Minnesota originally, and then when I moved to New Mexico, it was 10 years ago this month. My experience here with this land of incredible beauty, but yet there's all these military and nuclear secrets around. So I'm writing about those experiences. So I'm going to start with a poem called Star Wars Revisited of growing up. In the suburban movie theater, I was Luke, stuck on a planet that was my room, my ticket to a world where I didn't need a ride from mom. I'd sit near the front with my friend. We saw the dark side at school when we asked too many questions. Space was immense, unfathomable, as far away as graduation or a crush on Harrison Ford, or airmailed love letters to a pen pal overseas. I'd never be a princess. My mirror was the water when we camped by the lake. I permed my hair and wore a hat. My force was something to believe in, what I saw from the family station wagon. I couldn't imagine my parents dead. What would it take to destroy the Dark Star? How would I change my life in 1977? I signed up for high school Russian history and dabbled in Cyrillic. After graduation, my first presidential vote was lost to Reagan. Star Wars was implemented with real space-based anti-missile systems. I might as well have been on that movie spaceship going to Alderaan. So thanks for the visual clapping. All right, so I'll read a poem about Robert Oppenheimer. And he is a fascinating character to me because he was a poet as well as a physicist. I'll mention right now, there's a great biography on Robert Oppenheimer called American Prometheus that's listed in the back of this book, that if you're interested in him, that's one of the ones I would recommend. So this is called Oppenheimer's Home Bathtub Row. A few years ago, John and I went up to Los Alamos, and they actually opened the home for Oppenheimer. There's an older woman living there. It's going to go to a trust, and about every 10 years or so, they open it up for visitors. You can drive by the houses, but this time we could actually go in. We walk into that famous photo, the home in Los Alamos, point at those windows right over there, stand in the famous living room with Isidore Rabi, Dorothy McKeeven, Victor Weisskopf. Imagine them in those chairs. Robert and Kitty had one request when they arrived: to add a full-size new kitchen to cook and entertain. This boys' lodge home with a 14-foot thick stone walls took on their personality. Robert was generous to those who knew him, continued his lifestyle of gracious living and fine wines, brought class and civility into a military complex. This home is a refuge, now owned by an elderly woman who has put it into trust to help pay the bills and continue the story for future generations. In present-day Los Alamos, where is the fine dining amid fast food and inexpensive local diners? Where do all today's PhDs spend their money? It is still a remote place, but much less isolated. Do they drive down the mountain 33 miles into Santa Fe on a now paved, still winding, accessible road? Oppenheimer's spicy hot chili and the magic of his strong martinis linger. He crafted his own recipe that used only a dash of difficult to get vermouth, lime, and honey, and 4 ounces of gin, made very ceremoniously. I smile upon hearing the story of colleagues stumbling home late into the night. Our tour group stumbles among the evergreens, no martinis for us. Cold kitchens await our return to wherever we call home. Thank you. So I'm going to read a sestina called Day One about Oppenheimer. There are several sestinas in this book, and a Sestina is one of my favorite forms of poetry, which has a lot of repetition. So this is called Day One. Day one, the big bomb to win the war of wars, the big one. How many times do you think, doctor? The army wants to know. Dr. Oppenheimer says he knows the gadget will work and be one big blast. In his doctoral opinion, a dud would not win us anything. We need more time to develop a device that's big enough to blast a whole city, the biggest bomb yet. No one says no. The lure of the times of mastering physics, one more secret revealed to stroke and win our American egos, scientists being doctors of chemistry, mathematics, and physics, doctors of humanity, push forward to big revelations, patriotic to win against Nazi Germany, to know they are helping the war effort, one time for them to go down in history, time to do something at Los Alamos. Timeless beauty surrounds the doctors and sky and pines, the mountains, the one source of exclusive secrecy. So big, no outsider knows what's on the hill. No leaks on the big day when the test wins, blasts out at Trinity. The crew cheers. We win our intellectual battle of energy and time. Now the army takes ownership, knows we have leverage to bomb the Japs. Dr. Oppenheimer has done his job, big plans to drop the device within 1 week to win the war. The newspapers now know America counts one sole time victory. No more big secrets, doctor. How do you feel? So that was on page 32 of the book, if you're following along. I love the Sestina because that has a lot of repetition. And I'm going to read another one. This one's called Radium Girls. This is about the girls that used radium to paint watches and other things. There was a book about it, and I think there's now a Netflix series, which I have not seen. So this is the story of the Radium Girls. They promised you the glamour kiss and more money than you'd ever know, a chance to be an artist with a watch on everyone's wrist, a cause to be proud of, the glow of radium dials, a poison of occupational radiance, poised to point your paintbrushes for a kiss on your lips, that finer point, a better glow on your face. You painted unknowingly, your fingernails, your toes, a manicure that causes you heartache. A worm-like heat. Ionic energy glows with phenomenal brilliance and ecstasy. Art in its deadly fullest knowledge reveals the secrets of Marie Curie, not poison, but a miracle cure for everything. A radiant kiss of luck for bath salts, chocolate, radithor, bottled water, because water is better than radium beer. Pause with your man at the Radium Palace Hotel. It attracts the glow of 2,500 customers a year. The price kissed up to 3,000 times the worth of gold. An artist could splurge while working in radium. It's delicate poison, like a lover that seduces without protection. You know you shouldn't, but you do. What do you know that could possibly go wrong? You didn't sue because only later you found out it was poison. To ingest like a bitter apple, that warm glow on your face, your teeth falling out, your art becoming a frail old woman after being kissed too many times by her lover. You knew all along the glow was temporary, caused by cruel greed. Cheap women artists like you, used up, and only the men got autopsies. You kissed away your future. So, it's a story of some of the women behind the bomb and the nuclear industry. So this is a poem called Party Boy, And I wrote it in response to a art piece by the same name. And I did a reading of this a few years ago at the New Mexico Humanities Council. And it mentions Albuquerque. Party boy. And so you are sitting in a corner, dunce of the party boy, spent with fist pounding, raw knuckles, bloodless war drones, shadow of your former self, dark and worn out as ever, a game. You didn't mean it really, only wanted to teach them a lesson. It was an accident, a mistake to bomb from a B-36 over Albuquerque. Turbulence, grab the nearest handle, the nuclear bomb bay release hatch. It was hard to hang on for your life. Trigger wasn't in, thank God. You got out with only an explosion and a warning. Pity, was it you drinking beer in the Moscow Marriott Executive Lounge on duty? Your security clearance may be revoked. Sit in the corner on a stool 6 miles from the Grand Canyon entrance and mine uranium for greed. Did you ever notice the beauty? The American people want to know why daddy bailed you out again, dead weight, missing your pants. Remove your gloves and protective goggles as you kneel by the names of the dead everlasting. Okay, thank you. All right, I'm going to move on to a Trinity Site poem. I don't know if any of you have ever been there. It's actually open twice a year in April and October. I know it's closed now for the pandemic, but we'll see if it opens again later. Thanks for the comments, everyone. I'm kind of reading these. All right. This is called Acnophobia. At the Trinity Site, the morning of the blast, scientists observed tarantulas the size of tennis balls crossing the road. Is my fear of spiders any excuse to wish for the death of innocent creatures? How can I be selective for wanting to save the lives of snakes and all furry things, but be depressed because cockroaches will outlive us all? If we had to bomb the Germans or parts of Europe, would we have done it instead of bombing Japan? Japanese were hinting at surrender. Too risky to invite them to the test. What if it didn't work? How would we save face? Los Alamos physicists jumped for joy when the Fat Man test was successful. Years of work to discover that they really could claim the laws of physics. Uranium and later manufactured plutonium exceeded all bets that were placed on how many tons of TNT would explode. Lucky guy who got the highest bid, 18,000 tons. The baby sold to our military, grown-up gadget thrown in the world. Then we dropped it twice. American ego had to beat the Russians to claim sole victory over Japan in winning the war. The Air Force projected vague numbers of how many distant insects may be destroyed. The reds, the yellow peril, the cockroaches of civilization on the other side of the world. Watching the film later of the destruction caused by the gadget, leveling whole cities and innocent children, tears come to the eyes of scientists. We actually used it. 0.6 of a gram of pure energy with 80,000 deaths and 80% of buildings destroyed from Little Boy's blast. Oppenheimer was accused of being a Soviet agent by his own hysterical country he worked to defend. Didn't want us to build the H-bomb, the super, more and more powerful ones, inconceivable at the time. We just wanted the device to end all wars. At the Trinity Site, the ants go on burrowing and bring up tiny grains of tritonite, that blue-green glass that is now illegal to pick up. Visitors allowed twice a year, so our biggest enemy, amnesia, won't forget. Thank you. This is a poem that's about Hiroshima. And it's called Roasted Pumpkin. In Hiroshima, the day of the blast, Mr. Tanimoto was dismayed to see the shelter building razed. In the garden, Father Kleinsorge noticed a pumpkin roasted on the vine. They tasted it, and it was good. They were surprised at their hunger and ate quite a bit. They dug up several potatoes that were nicely baked under the ground. The asphalt of the streets was still so soft and hot that walking was uncomfortable. They found several bags of rice, and one of the people with them had some cooking utensils. In the park, Mr. Tanimoto organized the lightly wounded women of his neighborhood to cook. This morning, the city was bustling with 245,000 people. Now, in the afternoon, a mere pile of residue. Some could not keep the pumpkin in their stomachs. Mr. Tanimoto and Father Kleinsorge and the woman cooked enough rice to feed nearly 100 people. So I will move on here to the next one. Which is called Hotel Sheraton Santa Fe. I knew there were the internment camps in the US for the Japanese, but I did not know until I moved here that New Mexico had a lot of those camps, and one of them is in Santa Fe. The woman walks to her car in late afternoon. Haiku in her book sleeps. Fear of Japs force the men here. American citizens, his son served in the war. Where were the towers, barbed wire fences, the guns? Men in suits at her home took her father away. Children shipped off with the women. Helplessness, distracted by writing, performing theater, make-believe. Snow so pretty on the Sangre de Cristos. Family business collapsed, no one to carry it. He speaks 2 languages, is considered dangerous. The guard sleeps at the door, unafraid. The man chants librettos copied by hand. 4,000 men aching, missing wives. Today, a couple walks hand in hand to dinner. Hotel restaurant prides itself on welcoming all guests. No plaque or sign to be found for a marker. A white boulder a mile away off Canyon Road near a park. Paintings in the hotel glimmer. Painted makeshift theater walls fade. The Yoshimura family goes back to Japan. So the Hotel Sheraton is supposedly near this site, and then there's a white boulder which is in a residential area of Santa Fe where the internment camp was. And that is the only marker at this point. So I'm going to read, switch gears a little bit about, I covered nuclear history in the US, but I also have a couple poems about other countries, and one of them is China. And the Chinese were also racing to get the bomb. So this is that story. And it is a sestina. So see, the first stanza are the 6 words that repeat. So you can watch for the repetition. It's called Milan. Chinese desert flower unfolds to blossom, Mao's A-bomb. His wish for a bomb, a nuclear weapons test base, China's is 7 times bigger, blossoms over the US test base in the Nevada desert. The great leap forward unfolds, starving workers eat the wildflowers. Milan is made named for a desert flower. Rising from the ashes of a future bomb, a new town of 10,000 people unfolds. With help from the Soviets, China rises her pioneer ashes out of her desert to assemble thousands of workers, blossoms to resurrect Chang Ho's 15th century, blooms feats of sailing treasure ships, flowers spreading inventions of 2nd century paper desert origami birds, gunpowder bombs. Once the largest navy in the world, China rises again, magnetic stones, compass-like, unfold to tell her future. Mao's wish unfolds, an A-bomb test within 10 years to blossom. With 3 months to spare, the People's Republic of China joins the nuclear club on October 16th, 1964. A white rose flowers in history. The giant physics experiment blows up, forced to bloom from the Lac Nord desert. Testing blossoms for 32 years with desert detonations. The first one, codenamed 596, unfolds. It is named after June 1959, the time when the bomb given to China from the Russians and blossomed in trade for Tibetan uranium turned into a wilting flower, suddenly cut off by Khrushchev. So China builds her own bomb, lighter and better than the US. Desert winds and Chinese fortunes willed to unfold. At what price blooms Milan in the parched desert? Okay. All right, so let's see, still got a bunch of time here. I'll read one quick one about North Korea to kind of cover a couple bases here on that. This is called North Korea Hwasong 15 Shrine. This was, I took it out of a New York Times headline that North Korea was so proud of its missile, it's got its own shrine. Missile park construction is huge. North Korea is proud. What is going on? Swarms of tiny US satellites suspected something going on are thrown to the Hwasong 15 missile. Snapshots show a shrine proud with propaganda, a memorial park carved out of farm fields, huge trucks crawling with construction, digging gear, crews, and reconstruction, all to honor a missile. What is going on? Our spies are baffled by a huge parking lot. Is it meant for a missile museum, a memorial park? An astonishing achievement, shroud in secrecy unveiled to a crowd. Spy satellite snapshots show construction of a shrine, a massive missile park. What is going on? First one built to be able to hit the US, a missile memorial park to the phallus, a huge stadium being built, another huge area for fireworks, loud sirens announcing the missile liftoff, on display to construct the mirage going on, a light show in the dark. Crowds gather in the park for Kim Jong-un, not a stooge to them or to admit what is really going on. North Koreans must act proud. The site is pretty with landscape construction, even a commemorative postage stamp for the missile. To send censored mail, those in the park are proud of huge hand-constructed masturbation manipulation. What the hell is going on with their missiles? Okay. So let's see here. I've got about 2 poems left. This one, I'll read this one for John. It's called Niantic, about the coast of Niantic in Connecticut. So where his family has a cottage, and it mentions his uncle Bill. We order lime margaritas at the Main Street Grill, sit on the deck overlooking Niantic Bay, blue on blue view, Long Island Sound in the distance, a chilly breeze blowing out the sun. Rising on the horizon is the Millstone Nuclear Power Plant, a gray-white city surrounded in green. Amtrak's Azalea zooms by, and the little boy at the next table is enthralled by the speed. You tell me about your Uncle Bill, an electrician proud to help construct nuclear reactor Unit 1 in the late 60s to bring New England into the atomic age. We guess he was probably there at the plant opening, December 28th, 1970. He moved his family from Hartford to a house in Waterford near the Millstone Point, so he could see the plant every day while swimming at the beach. We forgo another margarita and head out to sunny Main Street with the tourists sipping wine or eating ice cream. How many know what the low tide brings or where the crosswinds will blow? The next shutdown looms as cooling reactors raise water temperature. Uncle Bill's Unit 1 shut down in 1998, but Units 2 and 3 continue to operate, earning OSHA's top award for workplace safety. The little boy's generation will be guaranteed nuclear generated electricity to 2056. Okay. All right, I'm going to read the final poem for now. I'm just looking and seeing who's here, so I haven't really saw everybody yet. So thanks for coming. Okay, so this is another sestina, but it's actually a double sestina, which has 12 lines that repeat instead of 6, with 12 words. And Mary December is especially fond of this. So it's called the Decaying Nuclear Bomb Double Sestina. So you're going to find out that the last word in every line is bomb. And then if you, like when you look at it on the page, it has 12 lines, 11 lines, 10 lines, all the way down to 1 line. So this is kind of commemorating all of the nuclear tests that have been done in the world. There have been 2,053 nuclear explosions worldwide in the 20th century. The United States conducted around 1,054 nuclear tests by official count between 1945 and 1992, including 216 atmospheric, underwater, and space tests. So this is the sestina. White as an American bomb when there was no bomb. Before I was born, the bomb was here. 2 decades of bomb and the war, the way to win a bomb. Wake up the Americans in denial of bombing until Pearl Harbor. The bomb woke up the giant beast, a bomb project assigned to General Leslie Bomb Groves, code name MED, short for Bomb Manhattan Engineer District, inconspicuous bomb funding, pulling strings to secure more bombs when no new weapons, like an unproved atomic bomb, ever won a war. This bomb was in a race to beat the Nazis, a bomb to save America, a bomb to impress the world, a bomb for manifest destiny, a bomb with a AAA supply rating, a victory bomb on a mission with many-starred generals, bombing scientists with pressure to perform bombing feats of atomic energy, an unpronounceable bombing horror taken away from Oppenheimer's grand bomb vision of fission and crackling, the atomic bomb code, the nuclear energy gobbled up by a bombardment of military obsession, of bomb ego power, a white man's Jesus, this bomb to save the world with a hard J bomb that sticks in your mouth, a salty bomb taste that turns to grit, sucked up bomb lies in the stem of a mushroom cloud bomb in the middle of the desert, flashes of bomb among the yucca, screams unspoken strips of bomb fallout like a stripped up falling bomb. They took it and used it on people, a bomb scientists naively wanted for testing, a bomb to show to the Japanese, countdown to a bomb, not offending anyone, an atomic marvel to bomb away our funk, put on cakes, Mrs. Bomb, beauty contests, and bikini atolls, American bombs invented by us. We rule the bomb. We are the bomb, in control of the propaganda. Sell the bomb to the people. The way a war is won by bombs and not really hurting the civilians, we lie. Bombs dropped on women and children, atomic bombs and fire bombs, as if we needed more bombs, more radiation. The neutron bombs drop on us, the teeth falling out, bombing the bigger is better H-bombs. And how many more mega bombs? A year before I was born, the largest nuclear bomb ever detonated was by the Soviet Union, the Tsar Bomba in 1961. 50 megatons, an insane bomb blast, 3,333 times more powerful than the little boy bomb, the bomb that felt in our unconscious, a womb-forming bomb, blasting mothers with radiation, satellite combing bombs, 1979. The next country going rogue with a bomb is Israel, hidden by President Carter. The bomb does not exist if we can't track it. The bomb lies to all of us. Truman lies to Oppenheimer. The bomb hates the son of a bitch physicist, loves the Marvel bomb, Reagan and the Star Wars project, more bombs in space, test bombs underwater, the underground bomb, Nevada fallout, over 690,000 American civilians bombed infested grounds of uranium, the downwinder bombs, the produced plutonium, aluminum bombing, the bomb club, Russia, US, France, China, UK, bombs, Pakistan, India, North Korea, Israel, all bomb testing nations. Who's next to get the bomb? Nuclear power plants, the new energy way, bombing, safely humming along until they don't bomb. The Fukushimas, the Chernobyls, insatiable lust for bombs, the pit houses lined up in rows, bombs, not in my backyard bombs, finding funding even today to stockpile more bombs, never giving it up, just in case bombs, sitting there with unused codes. When is the end of the atomic bomb? It is still going on, the bomb. Thank you. So yeah, feel free to unmute.
Hey, Jules.
Oh, Jules.
Now I can look at all of you.
You've given me a new ambition. I want to try one like that last one.
The Sistina,
That was so
yeah,
cool.
it's the decaying Sistina.
It's way cool.
Jules,
Yeah.
that was
Not
absolutely
your grandma,
fantastic.
Christina.
That was so dynamite. I wish you could read that, you know, in Santa Fe at the Capitol or here in Albuquerque and the corner of Lomas and something, you know.
Well, I will. I have read in Los Alamos. A
At
couple
the
years ago, I read a couple of
Winery.
poems up there.
Thanks a lot, Jules. It was great.
It was
Great.
wonderful.
Hey.
Wonderful. So
So
Jules,
I'll,
you're
well,
still in
I'll
charge
open
of
it
that.
up to questions.
Yeah.
We have some time to chat.
I don't. I have to go.
Paul, it's great to see you. I'm so glad
See
you
you too.
made it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
good luck. Is that your last committee meeting you're going to?
For the award that I'm doing, yeah.
Okay.
So, bye-bye. How
Thanks
do I get
so
out
much.
of here?
You go to
leave.
Steve.
Lower right. Steve.
Leaving me.
All right. Well, I can talk a little bit, but I wanted to know if anybody has a question, just speak up, or you could put something in the chat.
Give them some time. People need to digest.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Nevins said, Jules, you da bomb.
That was very good.
I took the, this is a photo for the cover that I kind of photoshopped. It's basically, it's the Sandias and the view from our front yard, actually. Is Denise still here? Denise Weaver Ross did our cover for us.
Yeah.
So I'm happy to.
The always talented Denise Weaver Ross. Yeah.
So Jules, I have an irrelevant question. So do you ever watch The Simpsons and Homer Simpson, you know, at the nuclear power plant?
Occasionally.
I was wondering, I just got your book today. I didn't know whether you had a poem to him.
Oh, yeah, that's right. He has the nuclear power plant, right?
Yeah.
If I remember right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Springville.
Thanks for bringing that up. I don't have one about that. Maybe that'll be a future poem. You never know.
I have a question, Jules. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Yeah. I was wondering that with all the 1,200 or so tests that were conducted, they were mostly in New Mexico, right?
Well, in Nevada, actually, Nevada was the test site where they did a lot of the testing. At least
So-
it was
so-
above
so
ground
now-
and then underground.
The first
so-
one
so
was in New Mexico.
Have you?
But the
have you met
first one, the
the-
Trinity site, yeah, the Trinity site is in New Mexico. It's about
have
what
have
about
you
hour
met
and a
any
half, 2
people-
hours, 2.5
Yeah.
from Albuquerque.
Okay. So,
You could
have
hear
you
the
met?
yeah.
Have you met people who have suffered from any form of radiation sickness? And have you written about them?
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting because with this book out now, I'm hearing stories from friends. So one of my friends, her mother was living, near the area and heard the blast when it went off, and saw basically in the papers they said it was just a munitions explosion or some lame excuse. There are articles in the local papers about that. Los Alamos basically did not exist until after the bomb. Then the press releases where Los Alamos was the center of activity. So it was a very secret place until after the Trinity test. But yeah, they didn't really let. I mean, they didn't really let anybody know. They did not. They might have evacuated a few people, but there were ranchers and things, and they did not make a huge effort to let anybody know that they were doing a test.
And a lot of those people were Native Americans.
Because they were
The
Native.
area was right surrounded by tribal lands, and there have been many, many lawsuits over the decades by survivors, or downwinders as they call them.
Yeah, the downwinders. You'll see them every time you go to the Trinity site. I mean, there's, this is a flyer from the Trinity site, where you go there, they hand these out, and it's on the missile base. It's near White Sands. So they say here, with radiation that, it's below the level of your dentist or whatever. So, I mean, you go with your own risk down there. But
The thought that occurs to me is that despite 1,200 explosions in your area, life goes on. So it's nuclear energy is, unless it's what you call used as a weapon on the surface, is pretty safe, pretty cool. I mean, look at you guys. You look disgustingly healthy, all of you.
Well,
Seriously.
there's a lot of controversy on that point.
I mean, look.
Yeah.
We don't have any, as far as I know, there's no nuclear power plants in New Mexico because you generally need water to do that. But yeah, we have the tests were done. It's not that far from Las Vegas. The tests in Nevada.
Yeah. The above ground tests ended in the early 1960s.
Right. So we're not. Nobody is supposed to be testing right now. There was the treaty, but there's always, and all the nations that have the bomb. There's a great, I'll try to find it and email it or post it later. I think on my Facebook page with the Atomic Paradise, there's a link on there that somebody put together all the bomb explosions all around the world, and it has a little blast everywhere in the world where there's a test. It's for all like over 2,000 of
Yeah.
them. That's a really sobering and moving piece to watch. So,
And-
Can I let you in on a secret?
Sure.
You know, there's more testing going on now than ever before. But what has happened is that with the advancements in infotech and computer science, the testing is now modeled and done on computers.
Mm.
So in fact,
right.
there are hundreds of tests being carried out every day. In a
Right.
way,
And there's-
the testing that was done out on the landscape was safer because we knew how much testing is going on. But right now, even as we speak, there are hundreds of nuclear tests being conducted every day with the objective of making them more efficient, of miniaturizing the devices, which is the single greatest threat to mankind, that someone somewhere has got a small transistor radio size nuclear weapon.
Yeah.
Because
even
when
right
that,
now, yeah,
yeah,
definitely.
when that cat gets out of the bag,
Yeah.
we know that Pakistan is working day and night on miniaturization with Chinese support. And that is the threat for the future. That somebody is going to be sending some kid in the US or the UK a birthday present, beautifully gift wrapped, and it'll actually be a nuclear device.
Well, and the whole new,
And-
you know, and it's not just the whole nuclear industry is kind of embedded itself in the world with not just nuclear power plants, but now they have, you know, a lot of medical things and radiation and all of that. I mean, the lab here in New Mexico, they work on other things besides the bomb, but they are primarily, you know, with the military. I know up in Los Alamos, they're protesting. They have these new pits. They have like pit mining or pit houses where they're working with uranium and different things. And they, even now that's still going on to, Trump kind of restarted it, but even the previous presidential administrations have been always, nobody has stopped it.
One of the big problems here are abandoned uranium mines on tribal lands, which have been, you know, not cleaned up. The government was supposed to be cleaning them up. There is a recent, the Superfund now is, again, they're supposedly starting to clean up what they were supposed to clean up 30 or 40 years ago. But the tribal people say many cancers, and they have statistics and all that, because, you know, kids just walking on the reservation,
Yeah.
you know,
It's the main thing that's upsetting is that they weren't disclosing it, you know, to people. And
a
that's,
lot of these people didn't even know what was in their neighborhood. There's a great novel by New Mexico author Leslie Marmon Silko called Ceremony, which deals with a lot more than that, but that's one of the themes. Yeah.
I'd like to read in this book, Robert Oppenheimer actually wrote a poem. And if you don't mind me sharing it, it's kind of tells kind of that whole mood that I think he was this brilliant physicist. And part of it was like breaking laws of, or finding out those laws of physics to create that. But yet on the other hand, living with, you know, that you can't, once you release that, you can never go back. And the military took it over, whether or not, you know, you work to do that or not. This kind of gives some insight. He wrote in 1928 in the Harvard Literary Magazine. So he was a professor at Princeton. So he actually vacationed out. He was in California and then went to New Mexico a lot for the ranch, and he helped Leslie Groves find a spot because all these scientists were all over, like in Chicago and DC and everywhere, and they were all working independently. So the military needed a spot for them to all kind of work together to work on this bomb project on a deadline. And so they needed a space, and Oppenheimer suggested the boys camp in Los Alamos. So Grove saw it, and then they bought it. They closed out, after the season, the last of the boys graduated. There's a whole story who was in that camp too. But then they took it over to make the site up in Los Alamos. So anyways, it's just a short 2-stanza poem. It's called Crossing. So I'll read it to you. It's by Oppenheimer. It was evening when we came to the river with a low moon over the desert that we had lost in the mountains, forgotten. What with the cold and the sweating and the ranges barring the sky. And when we found it again in the dry hills down by the river, half withered, we had the hot winds against us. There were 2 palms by the landing. The yuccas were flowering. There was a light on the far shore and tamarisks. We waited a long time in silence. Then we heard the oars creaking, and afterwards, I remember, the boatman called to us. We did not look back at the mountains. That was from 1928. It's kind of a haunting poem. I mean, it's almost like it was a premonition.
Did you know that Einstein wrote a poem as well?
Mm-hmm.
His poem was very short. There's a thought that leaves me somewhat hazy. Am I, or are the others crazy?
There's a poem in the book that I wrote that's a letter from Einstein to President Roosevelt. It's about how to find uranium, and if he was kind of telling the president whether it would be feasible or not to make a bomb.
There's a very a sad sort of story when India was working on its nuclear weapons. They needed uranium, and the only people they could find to work the uranium mines were tribals who were good at mining coal and diamonds and emeralds. So they told them that this was a new precious stone, and they were taken to these mines. Their lifespan for working in the uranium mines was about 3 to 6 months, and then they all had cancer. So they've been brought there by a railway line, and suddenly you were finding these bodies of people, of tribal people, on the railway tracks, because when they got too sick, they went to the railway track to go home. And all the way home, you found these bodies of people fallen there who had actually been mining without any protection, and eventually wound up with cancers that finished them off in 6 months.
Yeah, that is so sad. That they didn't.
Horrible.
And radium, it just kind of eats, like it eats your bones, or like it disintegrates.
Yeah.
I was interested in your poem, Jules, that I guess, that the poem about the Chinese, the Mulan poem about the Chinese nuclear industry.
Their test site, yeah.
That the uranium came from Tibet. Well, I bet that there were a lot of Tibetans who died miserably mining it as well.
Yeah. But and New Mexico, unfortunately, has, I've got my keep uranium in the ground.
I spent 2 years in Ladakh, John and Jules, in Ladakh, working with Ladakhis and Tibetans, and they really are the most extraordinary people. I remember this one person who I was working on a relief project there after a cloudburst, and his orchard had been wiped out, and there was another orchard where these a pest, which is endemic to apples, had been imported into India from the US, and it was now attacking his apricot. So I brought some of those traps, which, pheromone traps, which you hang in the orchard and they'll kill off the males, so then the females don't reproduce. So he was watching my team of people putting up the straps, and he said, "Excuse me, Amit Lay." They add Lay to every name as a form of respect. What are you doing? I said, "These people are helping you to save your apricot crop." He said, "How?" I said, "They're going to hang these up and trap the males and kill them." He says, "Please don't do that." I said, "But they'll wipe out your apricot crop." He says, "That's all right. That's all right. But we mustn't do this. I will plant a few more trees and let the insect have its share. Don't worry about it. It'll be all right. Don't commit this sin." And another person, where I had warehoused a huge quantity of grain that was collected from my village to help them, tide over the winter. We put out these rat traps because we found some mouse droppings in the warehouse, and sure enough, we got some rats. So they asked me, what are you going to do? I said, "We have to take them a little bit out of the city and then and kill them." And they said, he looked at me like although he was younger than me, looked at me like a mother looks at a silly child and said, "Amit, can I ask you something?" And I said, "What?" He said, "You are very clever and you do many good things. Can you make a mouse?" I said, "What do you mean?" He said, "Can you make one mouse?" I said, "No." He said, "Then how can you have the right to destroy it? Please let it go. It's all right." And I learned so much about Buddhism not from scholars and priests, but from ordinary people, that I think it changed my life.
Well, thank you, Amit. Does anybody else have any other questions? And thank you, Bill and Martha. I'm reading some of the comments in the chat here for sharing your stories too. I think it's just good. I really want to remember this history so that we don't forget, and to help us be aware of things. So if you do want a book for me, let me know. We also have some little masks with Atomic Paradise on them, so I'll throw in one of those as well. But right now it's virtual book tours until things open up. So, but thank you all for coming. And Bill, you have an open mic, right?
Thank you, Jeannie, for hosting this and running.
Thanks.
Who is the master of the universe for this event? I'm going to go back and reread your book because my head.
Yeah, it's a lot to take in.
I have a friend who works, I'm not going to say his name, but I have a good friend who works with the nuclear industry, Syndia Labs, and I'm going to give him a copy of your book.
Yeah.
Read it. He does like poetry, so let's see if he would write us a little review. Who knows?
Yeah, and I'm hoping it'll go, out there besides poets for an audience. It's a lot of narrative work and stories, so hopefully I'll get out there.
Jules, we had a guy on the Zoom today that he's left, but we met him at one of Kate and Paul's pool parties, and he was like,
okay. Yeah, I did. I kind of started, I didn't get the list of everybody or the names of everybody.
right-hand man in Silicon Valley. So, interesting guy. Anyway, yeah, so.
We're gonna go to open mic reading. And if there's anyone else who wants to read on the open mic, would you just put your name in the Zoom for me?
Well, there's only a handful
You
of
have, there's only a few of us, Bill. Who do you have so far? I know John and Ahmed are on. Everybody else, Scott.
We're gonna go in this order. Okay, this order. We have John Roach, we have Ahmed, we have Martha D, we have Scott Norman, we have Brett Nelson, and Bill Nevins.
I think Brett is
Brett
left.
is no longer here.
Brett's not here?
Uh-huh.
Okay. We don't have Brett Nelson, but we'll remember him.
Okay.
Anybody else want to be on the list? Speak now or? Okay, good. So the first person on the open mic list is none other than John Roach.
Okay, so Bill, did you get your copy of Insurrection in the mail today? We got it in the mail today. Good. And this is a little volume put out by Gnashing Teeth Publishing, and they are all poems about the January 6th insurrection and the aftermath. And we've got several other friends are in here. P.W. Covington, Bill Nevins, of course, and Mark Fleischer in Albuquerque, and Ricky Zuckerman in Buffalo, and so forth. So anyway, can I read the two poems? Okay, so I got two poems. The first is called, and these were all published online, and then on their little online journal, and then they decided to put them in a book. So it was kind of cool. Yeah. And Epiphany. After sundown, safely back in their legislative chamber, relieved to be resuming their speechifying, the senators rubbed their wounds, sipped their wine, and orated through the night. But afterwards in their beds, more than a few had the terrible realization, the awful revelation that no matter how much they deferred to Caligula, how much they acquiesced to his insatiable demands, how many accolades they placed on his head, how many virgins they sent him to defile, how blind the eye they turned to his pilfering of the treasury and dereliction of his duties, how many Christians and Celts they let him feed to the lions, how many insults they bore in silence, it would never be enough. Caligula would gladly sick them to the mob, had that very day forced these octogenarian senators to cower in the basement of the Capitol while vandals roamed the venerable halls and ransacked their offices, while a ruffian clown stood at the dais and a barbarian sat in the chair of the president pro tempore. Fortunately, the epiphany soon faded. By midday, they were back soaking in the baths, regaling each other with bawdy stories and boasting of the emperor's love for his devoted servants. And, you know, I wrote this right the day of or right afterwards, and it's been illuminating. I mean, it's kind of prophetic because the Republicans have completely forgotten any of it happened, right? They've completely forgotten. Anyway, and now they love Big Brother Trump. Yeah. Okay.
Not at the local level, at least not everywhere.
Yeah, but the congressmen, the senators.
I like to remind them that their party, at least local Republicans, is the party of Lincoln and Eisenhower.
But you know, Scott, you're in Vermont. The local Republicans in Arizona, Missouri, and so forth have censured Indiana. They've censured any Republican that didn't vote to impeach Trump or to convict Trump. The local parties are worse than the congressional one, except in places like Maryland and Vermont, I think. But anyway, okay. The second poem, a little shorter, called Feast of Fools. Bare-chested, face-painted, KKK tattooed, Viking horned, raccoon-hatted trespasser poses for photo in the Senate chamber, standing behind the vice president's flag-draped dais, with velvet curtains behind and E pluribus unum on the frieze above. He's known as the Q shaman. 'Twas a time you might see a character like him wandering a rock festival or a rainbow gathering, mulling about at a yippee rally or at the Fugs levitation of the Pentagon. But he'd be harmless and few would pay him much mind. Now he's a leading spokesman for the QAnon conspiracy movement with write-ups in Business Weekly and Newsweek. An influencer, likely soon to get his own reality TV show and get to party with Kanye West, Dennis Rodman, and Ivanka Trump. Unless the rumors of Q Shaman being an Antifa spy married to Pelosi's daughter gain traction, force him to go into hiding by adopting a clean-cut look and becoming a bank clerk in Omaha. Well, I was not so pathetic there because he's still in jail, so hasn't gotten his Fox TV show just yet. Brett is back. Hey, Brett.
Hello, Brett. Glad you're back, and you're
Brett's back.
But the reader here.
I have for reading a poem.
The next reader. Okay, the next reader is Amit, and Amit is coming to us from Delhi, India.
A tiny poem to begin with. It's called American Face. Can you hear me clearly? When the moonlight touched your face, you invented a dream for us all. American Face. When the moonlight touched your face, you invented a dream for us all. We woke up to find you walking on the moon, making impossible shadows and strange new toys out of our nights and our days. When your eyes narrowed, a feudal empire vanished in 2 incandescent moments. When you frowned, the forests and paddy fields burned for 3,000 days on the other side of the world. When you smiled, American Face, famine vanished from my land. But today, your beautiful eyebrows gather darkly upon your face like monsoon clouds in the harvest time. And I wonder what future shade and shadows your face bears for me. Thank you. Out of my respect for Bill's son, Liam, you know, we have a tradition in this movement I run called Delhi Poetry, where at every reading, if there is a soldier in the house or a relative of a soldier, then a war poem is read. This is not because we relish war, although I come from a community that is exclusively farmers and soldiers. I was telling Bill earlier that we have the world's biggest blood regiment right here in the Indian Army from my community. You have to be born a Jat to serve in that regiment. For some reason, we love dying. I don't know what the reason is. And so this poem is called "Remember the Roar of Tigers Taking Tiger Hill," when a war was inflicted on us by Pakistan in the late 1990s. And this is one peak out there is called Tiger Hill, but my submission was that every hill because they'd taken the heights in the winter time when the troops come down, because it's minus 56 and impossible to stay up there. So they sneaked up towards the end of winter and took the heights on the Indian side of the border. And it was felt that theoretically we couldn't take them back, but we did. And this poem is called Remember the Roar of Tigers Taking Tiger Hill. Well, I believe not one hill, but every hill became a Tiger Hill. And every unit of the Indian Army, every battalion was a raging, roaring tiger. Boom, 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 boom. At the edge of the killing ground of battlefield Kargil, the tiger sit below the hill gathering for the kill. The killing ground runs to the clouds. They call it Tiger Hill. When the enemy took Tiger Hill, there was no one around. When winter ends, its guardians descend to lower ground. But now it's spring and melting snows of ice and slush and freezing flows. On rough-hewn faces, anger shows a rage for Tiger Hill. And like the tiger sits the hill, silently waiting for the kill. The 17th Charter on the ground, the bravest of the brave. Cold steel in the open now to feed the enemy grave. Come on, boys, gather around, there's man's work to be done. The enemy soils the abode of gods, he must be overrun. When the attack commenced at last, the heavens turned so still, and then cold steel and battle cry ascended up the hill. Every 100 paces, one lad died. He lay there where he fell. The 17th just kept grinding on into the jaws of hell. Then hand to hand in close combat, and stab and slash and chop. With bleeding steel and insane zeal, the lads were at the top. And though the gods loved sacrifice, even for them this was too much. The dead on every side lay several high, the rage and storm was such. Their fury spent the Jatri land, laid the enemy in stony grave, and slowly made their way back down with dead and wounded brave. The lads went home, their wounds to heal, where wheat and milk and mustard yield the blood that colors the battlefield. For one moment, the heart is still. For one moment, the heart is still. In memory, then it beats to thrill for men driven beyond human will, and the roar of tigers taking Tiger Hill. Boom. Boom. Thank you. I want to end with a tiger poem. I have one on the net, which is called The Last Will of the Tiger, which you can see on YouTube anytime. I'm not going to do that. What I want is for you today to, I'm learning at this age now that the poetry doesn't really lie in the form or structure. It doesn't even lie in the language or the words. It lies in the resonance and the vibrations that are contained in the words. And so I'm going to read you a poem today, which is written in a cadence that can be sung. It's a tiger poem. And I just want you to have a taste of my language and what poetry sounds like in that. It's a tiger poem. Yeah. And I believe it's very important for all poets to write some poetry in a cadence that can be sung, because these poems will outlive us by hundreds of years, even thousands. That's how the scriptures of the great religions came down to us, because in the first instance, they were good poetry. And at the risk of being stoned to death, I think all our prophets were actually just great poets. This poem is called The Golden Hour in Hindi. सुना है कोई शेर गुजरता है यहाँ से, सुना है कोई शेर गुजरता है यहाँ से, कि पानी पे हिरण खड़े हैं प्यासे। संध्या के अनहद में कोई पत्ता बोला है, तो आंखों के तराजू ने हिरणों को तोला है। शेर और हिरण की तकदीरें मिली हैं, शेर और हिरण की तकदीरें मिली हैं, कि दोनों को गुथ कर कुदरत ने लिखी हैं। संध्या का केसर, अमावस्या का काजल, शेर की शायरी करे जंगल को पागल। हवन कुंड आंखों में मृगनयन पाए दर्पण, हवन कुंड आंखों में मृगनयन पाए दर्पण। अपनी ही आहुति का ब्रह्मांड में समर्पण। हिरण की कुर्बानी पे शेर कुर्बान, हिरण की कुर्बानी पे शेर कुर्बान। इस भयानक सुंदरता की जय हो भगवान। सुना है कोई शेर गुजरता है यहाँ से, कि पानी पे हिरण खड़े हैं प्यासे। I don't know if there's time, Bill. Thank you, but I can do the English version if you like. And
Please do.
yeah, okay. It's called "The Last Will of the Tiger." I believe as God's great creature before the tiger goes into extinction, and all the big cats, excluding Jules's cat on the screen, but all the other big cats are going to be extinct in our own lifetimes, and we're cursed to be witness to that. And the last tiger that's left will write his will as God's great creature. When you have stolen my skin from my entity and removed the roar from my life, O hunter, wield the skinning knife with some grace, a little skill. For I too have hunted and killed many, many, many times, but every kill was a prayer in praise of the Creator. My movements were always quick, clean, merciful. Such is the way of true believers. But do you now, hunter, slice, slash, and cut clean? I pray only that you leave no part of me behind to be eaten by the jackal and the hyena. For I have ruled this forest on behalf of the Creator himself, and there is no honor in a king becoming carrion. So take the sacred color from my coat, send it back to the maker of sunsets. So take the sacred color from my coat, send it back to the maker of sunsets. Take the darkness of my stripe and return it to the shadow and the undergrowth, for that is where it was obtained. Take the white from the fur of my belly and send it back to a new ice age that it returned to avenge me. Send my roar back to my maker, that he fill the heavens with my rage at this shabby end, for a true king ordained by God himself. Send my claws to the young of the rich and the high-born, to save them from their own nightmares. Send my teeth to Tibet, that their aspirations for freedom find new teeth. Send my bones to China, that they find a cure for the fear that builds such great walls. Send my fat to Singapore, that they learn to make a balm that is mine, not merely a name. Send my shit to the alchemists, for that is the only substance they have not yet tried in their efforts to invent gold. Give my entrails to whoever shall have them, but hang on to my eyes, you puny murderer, that your tribe might know that you did not fell a creature beneath you, that I looked you in the eye and did not flinch when you shot me. Instead, I am turned away, released from the cancer of your footprint.
I was waiting to go see the doctor over at the local hospital quite some time ago, a couple of years ago now. And I was reading a book or a magazine. It was nothing much else. It was about hunting. And in it, a man had this brief letter story about how he saw this amazing buck with huge antlers, beautiful, beautiful animal. And what his thought was that he had to have it. And he wrote about raising his rifle and putting a bullet right into the forehead of the buck. Like this was an amazing thing to do. Like it made him so valid to do this. And I mean, I'm not even trying to be sickly moral or something, but shooting, destroying something that is weaker than yourself, this doesn't make you strong. You know, using that weapon that makes you stronger, and so you take the life.
I hear you, Scott, on that one.
Much so.
Scott,
I did want to say though that
Oh,
we only
yeah.
have 20 minutes left before the Zoom.
Yeah, we need to get the rest of the open mic people in here.
let's go
Zoom
forward.
has a
Martha,
call it, an expiration date.
okay, good. Okay, somebody's got to be a dictator here.
We got Brett and Martha.
Yeah, is Martha with us? Would you please
Yes.
Brett, Martha, and Scott Norman.
Okay, let's do maybe Martha.
Martha, you with us? I don't know if Martha's here.
Martha,
Yeah, I'm here.
Yeah.
Martha's here.
For you to read. Thank you.
Okay. This has got two references in it, and not to be pedantic about it, I will give you a hint where each one comes. When you hear 1981, that is from a New York Times article called Big Atom Waste Site Reported Found Near Buffalo. And then when you hear about breakfast, that's from a Army Corps of Engineers report in 2003. But you don't have to worry about it. You just need to know that those things are in there. It's called the Techie Club. They were proud men, all men, nerdy intellectuals with no athletic ability, computer scientists and engineers, and at least one of them relieved not to have worked on missiles or bombs. Unwittingly, the office that suited them just right sat atop an unmitigated 37 million gallons of radioactive caustic waste from the World War II atom bomb project in shallow wells at Tonawanda, New York. But not to worry. The company cared about the men who worked above those wells, those with white or blue collars. The neighbors also. To this date, 1981, the spokesman said, "We are unaware of any damage to people or to the environment. We will continue to cooperate, but the responsibility for the consequences of the secret Manhattan Project plant cannot be fixed on us. So don't sue for damage caused by the secretly converted ceramics plant to uranium processing, where Building 14 was built, where that computer geek group bonded like frat brothers and worked in the poison building for decades. Until after retirement, Jim met Dave for breakfast and said, "I count the cancer cases. I go to funerals. 5 funerals this year, all cancer, and 10 more I just learned about, and all from Building 14. And David, yes, David, that also in the same strange, secret way. The group now gathered elsewhere, their bones scattered, over and under cleaner dirt. Thank you.
Thank you, Martha, for sharing that nuclear poem.
Thank you, Martha. That was, wow, powerful. Scott, would you love to read a poem for us?
All right. Verses in Chinese style for our friends at the Poetry Festival, autumn 1990. The struggling we do is history. The song we sing, history. Look, after the bombs, rain. We wrestle with angels, struggle with demons, alter the trueness of their names. Lightning, time, rain in the cities, Luciferian chanting. The walls we build seem immobile, eternal. The land, the sky will swallow them. What strange fruit blossoms in time? Some when longhorned antelope will run up from the sea, graze the streets of seaport towns. Let us spin wheels over prairies into mountains, you and I.
Wow. Beautiful, Scott. Thank you so much. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Would you like to read us a poem?
So we have what, Brett next? And
Brett, yes.
Okay. Sure. This is a short poem called Afterlife Insurance, and it's from my new book called Just to See What's There. And this is not about anybody's religion, but about the way some people approach religion. Afterlife Insurance. We fill up the churches on Sundays and practice the prescribed rituals in synagogues and mosques, paying the premiums on our afterlife insurance out of fear that something terrible could happen when we die. Some believe they know what God is and are so adamant that they get it right, so they can seal the deal and be rescued, while others are discarded on the scrap heap or worse. I sit here at my somewhat advanced age, thinking I don't tremble at the prospect of my candle going out, although I'm fairly certain that the anticipated event is years away. But I don't know how I will react when I stare that inevitability in the face. Even so, I don't buy the afterlife insurance. I don't know what or if God is, but if I were God, I wouldn't ask for credentials at the door to my house.
thanks, Brett.
Brett, thank you so much. Holly,
I love that.
I love that one.
I love the afterlife.
Holly, you want to step up? I don't know where she is.
I need to
Holly.
unmute. I need to unmute, and then I just lost my poem. Just a moment.
Okay.
Find it again.
I'm not rushing, but we're running out of
No,
Zoom time.
I understand that. So this is a poem about New Mexico. It was my mother actually who heard the bomb blast from Trinity Site, and my great grandmother was born in and baptized in Santa Fe. So I'm new to poetry, but I would like to read this. This is an apocryphal history of the death of the parish padre, as foretold by the first Episcopal General of Peter. Vigilant is sober, shaped by tilting mesas, dissected by steep-walled canyons, vigilant, dressed in Western gear, tall boots, tall hat, waits in the Momade bar. From the open door, he sees you silhouetted against the New Mexico sunset, smoldering in from the sacred site and bandolier, throwing sparks on the saltillo tiled floors with your cinnamon heels, slamming the door shut. The meek of the earth hit the dirt, hell's foundations quiver, prayers for the Assumption of the Virgin. Memories linger of you finding your way into the San Diego de Gemes mission in 1680 on the second day of the revolt against the Spaniards, breaking the neck of the priest. The tourist postcards of the abandoned ruin says the parish padre was killed in the church by an arrow, but Vigilant knows it was you. Vigilant comes close. You pick up his scent of sagebush and warm pinyon ash. He looks through your eye shine until you feel transparent and asks you to dance. He knows his predators and has gathered his defenses. You cut your lip on the serrated edge of Vigilant's pierced tin kiss, bite off a bit of hard metal, roll it in your mouth. It tastes ultraviolet, the way Virga, dry rain, is both a promise and a tease.
Thank you. Beautiful. Wow. Boy, thank you.
I like that narrative.
I'm gonna,
Love it, Holly.
Thank you, Holly.
You're welcome.
Thank you. Wow. Holly, I hope you're gonna write us more. That was wonderful. I'll give you a poem. Here we go.
Got 9 minutes, Bill.
But Jeannie's gonna cut the cord and exactly.
Ease into that time. We'll do a poem and then we'll let Jules take us out of here. Okay. And this poem, actually, I'm chatting with Scott. Scott, I think you'll appreciate this. It's called Maya and Me, Eye to Eye. That's M-A-I-A. And of course, Maya is the earth goddess. She never asked me my name, though I may have guessed hers. Unblinking black eyes fixed to mine, so close we could have kissed. Then she stomped her right hoof and hissed. Yes, you bet I stood in awe of nature when it charged downhill, 6 foot tall and angry, that early spring New Mexico mountain morn in May, when I'd been idly strolling with no gun or spray, contemplating Yeats's poetry, Whitman's sheaves, and lion track signs in the faded leaves, no doubt too near her hidden newborn calf. She had precious little to say about Ocean Vuong or Emily Dickinson that day, but I got the message most clear, no laugh, about my own mortality, fragility, and how a rough death was near, as my wise dog had run home, his better part of valor being feared. Yes, I did hug a tree that day, nature's gift with me behind it, grateful not yet to be dead, and that aspen stood stout between me and that cow elk's fierce pride. I prayed, thanks to Skathach and all the goddesses that be, and some that are not yet, no divine help to be denied. And I was most thankful to see my own she-bear woman summoned by my frantic cell phone text, a fierce, jealous angel, gracefully turned that proud beast away neatly with a hurled stick and a shout. That's my man, sweetie. Get the